My name is Kubeir and welcome to the channel. This channel is all about Canadian immigration, news, updates, processes, things you should do and things you definitely should not do. Well, today we are launching on a new journey, a new initiative, and this is going to be our weekly broadcast every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will go through different things that have happened during that week. The reason why we wanted to do this is because we tend to miss some of the very, very important news updates. They fall through the cracks. A lot of you are not aware what has happened. Some of you realize about it much later. And therefore, we thought, okay, let's summarize everything every week. Saturdays seem to be a good day. You guys are chilling. I'm chilling. So, we can all do this properly. And today's the first episode. Drop your comments below. After you've seen the whole thing, let me know. Let me know what you liked, what you did not like, what you wanted me to include, what you thought was riffraff and rubbish. That will help me as we progress through different episodes, as we go week by week. It'll help me sort of streamline what should be included, what shouldn't be included. So without further ado, let's start with what I want to talk about. Start with something very, very interesting. The quote of today's, or rather the quote of this week: when you sign up or when you start your Canadian immigration journey, you are also embarking on a virtuous journey, and that virtue is patience. I'm sure most of you will agree with this one. Your patience will be tested, right? And that's going to be the key. The Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Please stay up to date with us. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And hopefully you will see a lot of our updates as they happen, before they happen, while they happen. And that will always help you understand what's going on at that point of time. Provincial nominee programs first, so that you have a better understanding of what's going on over there. Manitoba is the first one. There was a PNP draw that invited 277 people or candidates in the pool. 201 invitations was for expression of interest score of 445, which is quite low. And then the skilled worker overseas score of 703, which was very, very high. The 445 obviously was for people who are already inside Manitoba, the skilled workers in Manitoba. And obviously the international education stream, which they also have, had 23 invitations that were issued. Obviously, if you want to understand more about this particular program, if you want to more about how this works, then obviously you should head over to the Manitoba website. Again, similarly, Ontario issued the largest number of expression of interest invitations during I think during this whole month of July. They have nearly issued by now 1,685 invitations under their new expression of interest program that they have now adopted. The latest one which went out was for in-demand skills draw, which just happened, I think about 3 or 4 days back, 5 days back probably. And they invited 54 candidates and people. Obviously, in this particular one, you will need to have a job offer from an employer in Canada, not only in Canada, in Ontario. And your employer also needs to be eligible and qualify under certain criteria that Ontario has. If you are unable to obtain the documentation from your employer, unfortunately, you will not be considered as eligible under this particular program. Then we have the BCP PNP. BCP PNP invited 56 in their tech draw. Again, they have already issued 6,225 invitations for their PNP programs this far. So, obviously very successful program, that one. Okay, let's talk about now in Canada programs. I mean, obviously we will keep the best for the last. So let's first get over the routine information that we need to talk about. And that was that the new open work permit process was initiated. And this primarily benefited, or rather will benefit, TR to PR pathway applicants. Now, the TR to PR pathway applicants, as most of you would know, or rather if you were one of the applicants under Tier 2 PR, that there was no bridging work permit option available, which basically meant that if you were one of the applicants, you had a work permit which was expiring, you had no other option but to leave Canada because there was no bridge work permit option. Thankfully, somebody woke up, somebody came to their senses, and they have now initiated the new open work permit stream, which is primarily for the Tier 2 PR pathway. Obviously, the criteria is that you should be in Canada, you should have applied successfully for this program, and that your current work permit would expire within the next 4 months. You will then be able to apply under this stream. You probably will even get from 1 year to 1.5 years, which is what 12 to 18 months of work permit extension on your current one. And the Tier 2 PR, for people who are following that, then they also know that the essential worker stream, which is the non-healthcare essential workers, that stream finally closed. I mean, amazing that it actually went from June, July, almost 2.5 months than what was anticipated. There were 30,000 applications that was accepted in this particular stream. The stream finally closed, but there's a lot of questions on this one. The interesting bit as far as this Tier 2 PR stream closing, I mean, in the night when we checked, it was 24,000 something. Morning we woke up, it was 30,000 finished, gone. Two things that happened over there. One is that a lot of IELTS tests that were booked by a lot of candidates who were eligible but didn't have an IELTS scores, those tests results finally came through, and while a lot of people have been waiting. So all that happened. And number two, the work permit extension, which was announced, that made a lot of people wake up and submit their applications if they were not sure about their ongoing status, because this basically meant that they would get 18 months of extension on their work permit, and it would be for 4 months until your work permit is expiring. So this definitely gave some sort of a trigger to a lot of people who then got up and applied. But anyways, the news is that this stream is now closed, and that is basically the end of this particular stream. There have been a lot of questions asking if the stream will reopen. At this point of time, I doubt it very much. I know the international graduate streams closed within 1 day, and that is where a lot of people were interested. But if anybody wants to know if this stream will open or not, then I don't really think so at this point of time. But let's wait and watch. Okay, the next update that we're going to talk about is study in Canada, as in the international students, if there is anything happening over there. Well, another big news that happened is that IRCC expanded their SDS student direct stream to 7 new countries and brought into fold Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Antigua and Barbuda, Costa Rica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and Grenadines. And this basically brings the total number of SDS countries now to about, I would say 14. So 14 countries in SDS. And what is different between SDS and non-SDS is that if you want to apply under SDS, then obviously you should be a citizen and residing in the SDS country. That's number one. Number two, that you pay the 1-year college fee or tuition fee upfront for the whole. So you pay for the whole program, or you pay for 1 year upfront, and you pay applicable amount of GIC in a Canadian bank account. GIC stands for Guaranteed Investment Certificate. For one single person, it's 10,000. If your spouse is accompanying you, it's 14,000. If you also have a child, then it is 17,000, and then so on and so forth. It increases. So that is the criteria or requirement that you need to sort of comply with if you wish to apply under the SDS stream. The benefit of SDS versus, another thing. Before I forget, you also need to have a language proficiency of 6 bands at least on all factors, right? That is also one of the criteria. The benefit between SDS and non-SDS is that if you are applying that one, SDS tends to have a better success rate over the non-SDS stream because certain criteria has already been met with. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it tends to be faster than the non-SDS stream. SDS stream is expected to give you a result between 21 to 45 days from the time you submit your applications. The non-SDS could well go over 2 to 4 months based on what has been happening in the recent times. COVID delays not accounted for in this one. But yes, that is how they have been calculating. So that is your SDS stream, if at all you were interested in knowing that. Now, let's talk about the travel updates. What's happening with the travel updates? What's going on there? Well, the first one and the very, very important one is the Indian VFS update. Effective 11 a.m. on July 19th, all applicants holding a passport request letter will be able to use the VFS two-way courier service to send their passport to the Canadian embassy for their visa. So this is what you will now be able to do. What is the significance of this? And let's talk about this. Since the flights had been banned, since the COVID numbers were going up in India, they had at some point of time obviously stopped the processing of visa stamping in the Canadian visa offices, obviously because they were operating only with essential staff and only issuing emergency Canadian passports from all the visa offices in India. So now, as in how the COVID numbers are going down and things are coming back to normal, we came back to first the biometrics opening up for international students, then for workers, and then for everybody. Thankfully, that happened. And then on 5th of July, they said, okay, they will clear the backlog of two-way courier for people who had already applied for it. And then now, effective 19th of July, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time, you will now be able to apply for your two-way courier. Why this is of importance is because September intake is just around the corner, right? It's just about a month and a half away. A lot of classes will start from the 7th of September. Some are even starting from 30th of August as well. Keeping this in mind, these visa offices now need to start processing these stamping, because if the visas are not stamped, people will not be able to travel. That also ties in with the fact that there is an ongoing ban on the flights, direct flights between India and Canada, and what's happening on that front. We will talk about that in just a bit, because that obviously needs a bit more discussion. So this is as far as the travel updates is concerned that we had. So VFS is finally accepting that. It obviously ties in with the fact that there is a September intake around. So it's not only open to the international student. However, that is one of the most affected category at this point of time, because, hey, PPRs are not being issued for PR applications anyways, right? So, but yes, of course, there are a few who did manage to get their PPRs as well. There are a few of our clients as well, so who are basically PNP and Outland, and they did get their PPR, but not too many out there. In addition to that, there are a lot of those people who were working or studying in Canada. They went back to India because they were on a short leave, and when they went over there, they realized that their visas were expiring, so they applied for TRV. Their TRVs are now being processed. They are getting those, and they are getting those PPRs, but now they need to get them stamped so they can come back to Canada. All right. So that was your update as far as the travel is concerned. And very important big one that we are all been talking about, all been counting on, and that is Canada's borders could, and that is the keyword there, could open to all. And when we say open to all, we are talking about essential, non-essential travel, all kind of travel. There are a lot of eyes on the Canadian leadership at this point of time. There is a lot of lobbying that has been ongoing from the American political side as well as the Canadian business side as well. And they are, they have been insisting that these borders need to be open. So we are talking about at some point of time that this borders would start opening to fully vaccinated tourists and travelers, all kinds of travelers. So the minute we say tourists, it basically means there are no more requirements or criterias, and they could open by mid-August to the American travelers or American public who want to come to Canada, and by early September for all other countries. Now, this is quite big. So that was basically the roundup of the update for this particular segment. Well, folks, that's all from me today. You are not following us on Instagram, then you definitely must. There's a lot of good things that keep going with us. Most of our updates, when we post them, it usually goes on Instagram first. If you wish to make an appointment with me to discuss your application one-on-one, then that is the link. I am an ICCRC immigration license ICCRC licensed immigration consultant. Anyway, so yes, by all means, do feel free to book an appointment if you want to discuss your particular case, your application in detail. If you have any queries about our commercial services that we do offer, please drop us an email here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's always good to see more of you joining us. It's always, so you always get a notification. Smash that like button, and I shall see you next time. Take care.